Hey guys, it's a pleasure to welcome you to my first squad guide in literally years. When I first started playing squad, I seemed to get mixed messages from different people about what squad was all about. Everyone seemed to have different ideas about how the game was supposed to be played or what the best approach was. For a long time I've had the idea in the back of my mind to put together a video explaining some of the fundamental mechanics, the things that players pick up after playing the game for 1,000 hours or more. It's this that the veterans know, that they utilise to be successful, and the complexity behind which keeps people coming back to this game again and again. Understanding the fundamentals about how the spawn mechanics work lead to an understanding of the basic game dynamics. This information can be used to assess the strengths and weaknesses of your team's current position, as well as uncovering your opponent's strengths and weaknesses. I hope you find this video useful. If you do, then like, subscribe and all that sort of stuff. Without further ado, let's get into it. So, first of all, let's pretend that this canvas, this image canvas here, is a map looked at from plan view. And let's say the spawn point's here. And we got the blue team and we got the red team. And let's say they've got no objective. All they have to do is kill each other. So, actually, before I go into that, what I was going to say, one question, like an overriding theme for this, is because squad is a team versus team, and this example is a team versus team as well, what's one thing that you think is one of the most important things that you can have over your opposition to improve your chances to win?
Communication.
Flanking,
yeah. Getting behind enemy lines.
So communication is what are you communicating and what are you flanking?
Well, you're communicating the enemy positions.
Yeah, accurate information. That's the most important. One of the most important things is to have accurate communication, accurate information. Because if you communicate accurate information about the opposition and you deny the opposition accurate information about you, then you're one step ahead. You've got one over them. So in this example where two teams spawn in, they've got one life and all they have to do is shoot each other. Blue team know that they're over here, and they would have played the game enough to know that red team is over here, some distance away. So the fairly obvious approach to the game would be for blue to move forward like this and sit about here, anticipating that red are going to move forward here. And red are going to anticipate blue in front of them, and vice versa, like this. So just because of the nature of the game, they have the accurate information on each other that they're going to take half the map. So half the map here, we can have a conceptual front line. So the front line isn't like a real thing; it's an idea, and it's always moving depending on where they are. So say this red guy shoots the blue guy and he's dead. He's going to tell his friends here, now Mr. Red fella over here, he knows that this person's dead. He knows that the opposition, his friends, the blue friends, are going to be here looking the other way. So like you said at the beginning, he might look to get behind them in the hope of shooting them in the back because these other guys are looking the wrong way. But what would probably happen, in fact, let's just delete all of that. Oh, so there's only 2 blue players left. And then red has come around here to try and flank. Blue's going to know that they're in trouble, so they'd probably drop back a little bit. So now blue is here and here. Letting this guy, let's just get rid of these. So the map boundary behind them means that these guys here know that no one can come from behind them. So he's looking here. He's pretty sure someone's in front of him. He's moving forward. He's looking that way. So this guy can look forward, but this guy here, he's starting to get in trouble because he's having to look here and here. And they've moved back to try and secure behind them where they know no enemy can come from. So that's all pretty straightforward, yeah? Any questions about that?
No, all good.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Clear.
Grand, proper job. So that is if there's no respawn. Yeah, that's but obviously in squad we have a different situation. So in a squad map we tend to have 2 mains. Now if you couldn't build a spawn point on squad, you'd just have the mains. If there was no fobs or rallies or anything. So red would spawn here, and blue would spawn here. And obviously, they don't just spawn at the beginning and then run in, and then when you're dead, it's over. These spawn on about 20 seconds. Every 20 seconds, people can spawn. So if red run out, and if you imagine like these aren't necessarily players, but literally just red balls and blue balls that spawn out and move across the map. And when they hit each other, they vanish. So if red moved out from spawn for 20 seconds and another 20 seconds, and on the other side, obviously, it'll be doing the same. Oops. Squad isn't really team versus team. It's more wave of players versus wave of players that move out. And while I'm just drawing these, I will say I'm trying to stay on factual things about the dynamics, the mechanics, but there will obviously be opinion in here as well, my personal opinion, and you are obviously welcome to understand this, how it works yourself, and form your own opinions. This is like how I understand in my head what's going on during the game. So where red here hits blue going in the other direction, these guys are going to vanish, and what will happen is that red is just going to, we'll go with blue first, just going to radiate out in waves, and it's going to vanish when they come down this middle line here. This is like the front line, which will be exactly half between the 2 mains. So you could think of it as, if we stick with blue, that this whole area here is like the blue territory. There's no one coming in from behind around the back. It's all just radiating out from the mains and cancelling out in the middle point. Is there any questions about that?
No, it's fine.
Nope.
Cool. So let's do an example. Obviously, that it's not just mains. Start making it a bit more practical now. This is blue hab with their spawn versus red rally. Any idea who's going to win in this fight?
Blue hab.
So red spawn here. Blue hab, 30 seconds. 30-second waves. Rally, 60 seconds. You know where this is going. Wave. I'd practiced some of these drawings and they were way better than this monstrosity you see before you now. So these are 30-second waves I'm drawing here. So if blue shoots, I could be doing that in black actually, shoots red, kills them. Hypothetically, if blue wins and they take out red there, when blue moves forward, whoops, that's not the paint. When blue moves forward to meet the next wave, there isn't one. Because it's 60 seconds rather than 30, blue can push straight through the first wave, ready to meet the next wave, and they're right on the rally there. If that was to happen the other way round, and red shot blue, and then they move forward, they are only going to get as far as the next wave of blue. Because red, they didn't get this spawn wave. They're a whole 30 seconds behind. It's twice the amount of time, so you get twice the number of waves from a hab. This is all very simplified examples, just for the understanding of how the spawn mechanics and the timer creates these kind of waves. Any questions about that?
Just more of a comment than anything else. I think it's a really interesting concept.
Mm.
And it is put differently to how we would normally play. But this is a primary example of why I play so aggressively. So, you know, I played in the map a few days ago, and all we had at assaulting was a rally point. But because we managed to flank into enemy territory quite sneakily, because they didn't have the logi, they didn't have. So there are benefits to both, I think. And obviously, you're going to run out of ammo much quicker. You're going to have to rely on your effective squad members, you know, medics and so forth. But it's really interesting, actually, to look at it this way. It's obviously, like you say, a simplified process, but yeah, it's interesting. I like it.
These are the simplified mechanics of just meeting directly face to face. So if you understand where you're weak, it's about accurate information again. If you know where you're weak, and you know where they're weak, then you can avoid the face-to-face confrontation and get them at their weak spot. We will go in towards the end, will be some questions and examples type things, where things get a little bit more kind of complicated. This is the bare bones. So this is going to get a bit more interesting now. We're going to go for the mechanics of the fair fight, which are their habs. It's funny how when the pressure's on of actually doing it, the ability to draw seems to get considerably worse.
It's of Blue Peter standard. You're fine.
Yeah. I get my badge at the end. So Hab versus Hab. So same thing. Actually, I'll tell you what we'll do. We don't need the waves this time. We're going to simplify this to 3-man squad versus 3-man squad. Let's just assume that they got. Let's not assume that they. Let's start here. I'll cover that bit in a minute. Let's say they just wandered out and they got face to face. Whoops, that's not the right colour, but it's close. Now, let's say blue shot red, red shot blue, and this guy was on fire and he shot both of them and they're dead. So these are on 30 seconds, yeah. Now, because red are sensible, can't do that. Because red are, they're playing together and they're trying to play as a team. When these two died, they knew that their other mate was still alive. So they waited to see if he would survive. Let's say he shot him as well. So they knew it was, they didn't know it was 1v1, but they knew one of their guys was alive. So they waited, and when he got shot, they all gave up and respawned. So at the point when they all give up, it's 30 seconds. And during that 30 seconds, this guy here got these two up. One of them was a medic, and he healed them all up. Let's say that takes 15 seconds to med. Now, when you're, what do you think's easiest? What do you think's got the biggest advantage? Is it defending a flag or attacking a flag?
Defending.
Defending stronger. So, go on.
I think it depends on. I'm gonna say attacking is probably easier. I'm gonna say.
I'll be magic on that one. If you've got the right setup, attacking, that is.
If you got the right location, you can defend easier. But if it's like in the open, I think defending is more difficult.
Not only
That's a good point. That's
larger
a good point.
larger areas I find. So like Mutaha, like police station, I find relatively easy to defend with a squad. But maps like Telil Outskirts, when you have to cover a massive area, like not necessarily gas station, but the bunkers. Bunkers is actually a bad example, and Telil is probably a bad example in general. There is another map, I can't remember it. It's quite hilly. Anyways, there is a particular flag where you have to cover a mountain, and it's kind of like there's a valley with a river and things like that, and like covering all the areas, helicopters and God knows what else. It's bloody difficult, especially when you've only got 9 men to do so. And I often split in defense purposes. I always split up in fire teams, but yeah, it's challenging. I think attacking is much easier.
You've highlighted a flaw in my question. Which is, I would say defending is easier, but in this example, it will be defending based on accurate information. I think that's the key, because if you have time to know where they're coming from and prepare for them, then I think you've got a distinct advantage. So say these guys in blue here, they medded each other. They've taken 15 seconds to med. They know that the reds they're not going to appear for another 15 seconds. So they saw red coming from this kind of general direction. So let's say this guy decides to move out a little bit. He moves forward and he decides to move out. Now, in the interest of getting that accurate information, they're going to be looking for where red come from, because the direction they're moving in tells them where their spawn point might be, where they've just come from, because they're hunting for spawn points. So say this guy, if this guy's coming along here, and they're coming along here, now this blue guy who's come out with an idea of flanking, he could also be looking around. Where's the black? He's looking around for where the enemy are coming from. He knows out of his 3-man team, he's as far east as any of them. So he is looking for them around, everywhere, all around there, for where they could be coming from, for the purpose of finding their spawn point. And the same goes for all the blues. And they spot the reds coming in front of them. The red aren't so smart, and they've stayed tight, and they've confronted them right in the same vicinity, on the same line, on that hab line as before. So say blue move forward doing this, they've widened to scan, they've thought they're probably coming from this direction, so they put themselves in a flanking position. Say they moved for 12 seconds. That gives them 3 to position. If you know where they're coming from, or even if you don't know, you make your best guess on the information you had before, from the first time you encountered them, or from where you see other squads encounter people. You start drawing in your mind where they came from, and your mind's thinking about what's on the other end. That's what you're looking for, because that's going to give you the line that they're coming in on. And then, while it's quiet, even before you've seen them, you make your guess if they're coming from over there. Like I said, we've got 3 seconds. So this guy here, maybe he finds himself a nice big bush to hide in. And this guy over here, he's found a huge old rock to hide behind. And red walk in. They've got this guy here shooting at them. They're where red's expecting to see him. They're looking forward. And this guy here gets shot, and maybe they take him down pretty quick. But blue and blue, from their good hiding spots that they found, their good positioning, let them just massacre the rest, because they were surrounded. And once they're looking over here to shoot him, and all of a sudden they're getting shot in the back. They've been flanked basically. So now blue have got a major advantage. How can I delete all of this? So because blue knew about the waves, and because blue in the back of their mind, to be honest, as a player, it's more of a feel than timing. You get the feel for how long's it been. I'll get forward a little bit here. Is this ringing true for anyone? Has anyone experienced this in game?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So
I don't think I've ever actually, sorry to interrupt you, I
Go
don't
on.
think I've ever analyzed it at this level before. I just kind of like rush. Even if you die, it's worth it.
yeah, we'll go into that. There are definitely times when you die when it's worth it. So one of these guys came in and medded. There was only one guy down. There's the old medic symbol, the Red Cross. He got his mate up, and this guy was free then to move forward. And when he did, using the information, they were coming this way. He knew he was on the right-hand side of them, so he went up there expecting to look over here and find a spawn, and he did. Now, at this point, he could rush in there We know it's only 3v3, but he doesn't. He could rush in there. But better, knowing that his friend's being medded, find another nice spot. He's found a new bush. He's a proper bush camper, that fella. These guys have medded. In the meantime, he's told them, Hab's there, give me fire team, I'll mark it on the map. And with that, they move up. So that's another 15 seconds, another 12 seconds to move, and they get in their spots, and they surround the Hab. Obviously there's times when you haven't got many people, if you can rush 2 players in. But in this situation, the way I think of it, it's kind of like a Python, and you kind of encircle it. So this is like the edge of the map boundary, you know. They know no one's coming from here. He can just look that way. He can look that way. He can look that way. And from a territory point of view, blue now own all of this. No one's coming from behind them in this simple example. And red are going to spawn here. And they are screwed. Because these guys are hiding. He's hiding behind a tree. You know, we've all been in this situation where you spawn and you're like, they're west. I can't spot him. What's going on? You know, Hab's lost even before it's lost. And once you're at that point, say the guy that came out the front, he was expected to be there and he got shot. But then these 2 guys here and here killed the rest of them. Then these 2, this is getting very confusing. There's a lot of scribbles on here. These 2 they can move right in. Then they've killed them. They know they've got 30 seconds, which is plenty of time to get in, block the Hab from spawns, and then dig the roof off. And they might even have time after that to go and med their friend who got shot. So from a ticket perspective, blue's got shot a lot of times. They got downed. Let's not do it like that. Let's do it like this. But they where were they? Wasn't there? It was about there, wasn't it? 2 blues got shot when the waves first met. Then the waves met again, and then another one died at the top there. But from a ticket perspective, you lose a ticket only when the person gives up, not when they get shot. So because they medded as a group, and they managed to move forward because of the advantage on the spawn, the few seconds that were left over uncontested, the blue team have lost no tickets. And say they didn't find the radio, even if they didn't find the radio, the dead reds gave up here, and here. They're not happy reds. Which is obviously 9 tickets. And then once that Hab is down, blue team are 9 tickets up, and this entire space, is totally uncontested. That's all their territory now. Any questions about that? Questions or comments, should I say?
So I've heard stories about Habs and how sometimes it's not worthwhile attacking a Hab, that we should ignore it and focus on the point only. What are your thoughts on that?
You will see. You will see. So let's do, on that point, Habs on caps. Hab. It's a good question. Very good question. Hab. For the flags, I'm going to do one of them. Now, who do we think is going to have the best chance of holding this flag?
Blue, because they have less time to waste when moving on.
Yeah. So if we had, rather than drawing all the circles, I'll draw the waves. If these waved out until the point where they met and then they just cancelled each other out, like in the very first example. All else being equal, yeah, no team is any better shooter than the other one. Everything else being equal, the point at which they meet and cancel out is on the blue side of the flag. The front line is on the blue side of the cap. Red can't get in. That's it. Obviously everything else being equal, so no one's rolling armor in, no one's flanking or any of that kind of stuff. We'll get into that a little bit towards the end. That is purely based on the fact that when red dies here, if these are 30-second waves, that's 60 seconds. That's a 60-second run. And that one there is only 30 seconds. So blue can get people in the cap zone in half the time. So you're fighting almost double the amount of people if you're blue, in theory.
I guess the only downside is that if the objective gets overrun, you then lose your hab, and you can't spawn, as if you might be coming to that later on.
Yeah, we kind of will be. Yeah. This is caps on halves. This is defending the flag. Right, we'll do it. We'll touch on that now. Actually, what's the time? 20 minutes. Okay. So let's say there's a flag and blue is on the flag. So now in this example, we're going to have more inventory on the map. And blue have got a hab right on cap. Like this. Now, you will see a lot, or you will have already seen a lot if you've been playing for a decent amount of time, of newer players that will have their hab on cap and they'll sit on the cap like that. The thing with that is that their territory is about there, meaning red can get right up here. They can build habs. The distance to go from there to there, if that's 30 seconds, they're already there. They're already 30 seconds away if they pop a hab there. So rather than that, what I would recommend, based on the what we know about how spawn points work now, is that maybe you have the SL there, or someone, or a medic, and they're just there to keep an eye on the radio and the hab for any sneaky red that get in. And then maybe you post one on each corner, looking out, so they're close to the cap. But you can then put people on lookout, quite frankly, miles away. Not miles away, not crazy distance, as you'll see in a second. Because say then red descend in the area, drive a lodgy in or something. Now our friend blue here is an absolute goner. There is no way he can fight off a whole squad. But what he's done is he's told all of our blue friends where red are. So straight away, with good information, he'll be looking to flank north. He'll be looking to flank south. This guy can come onto this corner instead. He can push. He can push. This guy can cover him on that corner. This guy can come here because he's not stupid. And he knows that things can still go wrong. So he can things can still come from other angles. So you've still got one covering that side. You've still got this guy. This guy's moved here. Let's redraw it all. To where they would be now. Here, here, here. This is like rough, do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be that they have to go in. People naturally go wherever they've ended up, wherever they were going to look for something. They thought they might have seen something coming. Then they hear red or east. Boom, they're on it. They've got their information. They're looking. He's looking here. He's pretty sure they're right in front of them. He's trying to hold north. This guy isn't going to leave a big opening on the other side. These guys haven't gone too far. They're kind of holding back a bit maybe, waiting on more information. He's watching the hab. Now let's also put the front line in. Again, it's conceptual, but it's just to highlight the fact that because of Blue's movement, they still own all of this. They're not given red the chance to push in. They're still keeping the people a long way from the hab, and that means our friend that died, he's going to respawn in well, the time it would take Blues to get over here and hold red where they are, you know, maybe another 20 seconds, our blue guy's going to respawn. For this example, let's say they just put down a rally and they didn't get very far. Let's just pretend that blue is far superior. Even if they got a fob down, even if they were putting a fob down, I should say that afterwards. Say they didn't get very far. Say they didn't go down without taking a few people out. Once the reds have been wiped, I'm gonna have to go all the way back again, aren't I? Once the reds have been wiped, if there's a medic, if this was the medic, for example, you know, he can drop down and res him maybe. Medic can come and heal him back up again. In this example, where a 3-man red team came on here, the guy that blue team left over here to start off with had no chance of winning that fight, but it was worth it for the information. So he's dead. So blue team, Blues, lost 1 ticket in that exchange. And red team, there are 3 players there. They died, 3 players. So in that exchange, blue team have been heavy victors. Their sacrificial lamb ticket meant that they got information and jumped on it straight away. They had the numbers to kill off the red team and res their other players, meaning they won on tickets and they still held this entire territory. And I would argue that is all the more important if these guys were semi-smart and got a fob down. That early information to get the whole team ready especially because there's a fob on the cap. You were talking about how many, should you have fobs on the cap? If you've got fobs on the cap, once the enemy are in the cap, they're probably going to proxy you. It's all the more important that you have to keep them a long, long way away. And again, you've got the 30-second radiating timer, for example. So if your blue guy dies here, say, that's a good idea. Let's go right back. Say one red guy or two red guys shoot a blue here. And you think, well, why was he ever out there on his own? And in 30 seconds, they can get to here, and that blue guy respawns. And in another 30 seconds, they get to there. Red team then, these guys, or sorry, they're over here now, have to shoot the same blue player twice to get to the hab, because he started off so far away. Whereas if we have the example where they're all on the cap, they've only got to swoop in there and kill these players once, and they've got the hab proxied, and it's game over for this flag.
You're basically, so aggressive defense, you buy yourself time, basically.
Yeah, you are actively hunting them down. As soon as they get a spawn near you, then that flow, the wave flow of enemies, is causing you big problems because it's close. So what you're trying to do, that again ties very nicely into the next thing. Any questions or comments on that?
Nope.
It's fine.
All good.
Let's open this. Anyone bored? Bored senseless?
No?
No, not wrong.
Good, good.
I love using this map for tactics.
So, obviously, when we put spawn points on the maps, we do so in places that make sense, because not only do we get tickets for taking down radios and stuff, but obviously the ticket bleed for caps. That is dirty basics. So, let's say that they were being very thorough, blue team, about where they put their habs. And there's one, draw these a little bit big. Can you see this okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to zoom in a minute as well. Yeah, so they went there because they were trying to get spawn placements close to the flags, obviously, but also they were smart enough to not overreach. It's better to get one down than push into the opposition, and then they knew what the enemy was doing. Again, good, accurate information. Because of the distance and the time it takes them to drive, this map doesn't quite play like I'm drawing it here anymore, but this is what it used to play like. They've been very thorough. Normally, I don't think they'd bother on this side I'm drawing now because it's the first flag. So, in theory, that middle line is pretty much between the habs, and they are where they are due to the distance from the main and where they know their opponents are going to be. And that leaves this I don't like that colour. There's another colour. It's better. It's not the same colour as the roads. So basically, like what we've been saying, the blues know that when they spawn at their hab, they're unlikely to be attacked from behind, based on the fact that their spawns are where the front line is. But that also depends on how they play, as we shall see. Whoops. On the refinery cat, which is one of the most important. So say blue, let's make this a bit smaller. Spawn and rush. And now we've got 4 little blues on right in the building on the cap, maybe one outside. And say red isn't quite sure where their spawn is. Might work better the other way, but this is the way we're doing it. And they kind of spread out a little bit more. Well, for one, there's the big danger that blue could get surrounded in there. But even worse is if red don't take the fight to them too much there. Whoops. Oh well, we know what that kind of is. Even worse is if they pin them in there while a couple of these red come up here. If red can defend enough to just keep blue off of their hab, maybe with a couple of well-positioned people, it leaves them prone to getting some red up on their hab. So what had been the front line, one colour again, through here, what should have been blue spawning here and being safe from people behind them has totally been undermined by red's spreading out basically. And because of that distance, because they're holding them away from the hab, because of the time it would take, even if red does get shot here, they should probably spawn in on the hab. Especially if red gets shot over here. If this blue guy here was to shoot even both of those reds and they die, it's no big loss, because in the time it takes blue to come down here, they've respawned. They've found their hab, they got accurate information, and they're still there. The front line is still between the habs at refinery. Any questions on that? Questions, comments?
All good.
All good.
All good.
So if the red team, how can we do this? Say that red team flanked around there and they deleted this hab. They deleted them. They captured this point, they deleted that hab. Captured all those points and deleted that hab. This is what you would obviously call a steamroll, where blue has got all of the flags. But one of the main mechanics of a steamroll isn't just that they've got all the flags. They've got all the habs out. So blue are spawning here. And because of what we know before about the waves of spawning, for 2 waves here and 2 waves here, now the front line is all the way up here. I've done that again, that colour. And because the front line is there, it's the red team this time that hold all this territory. And every single one of those flags is in the territory. So the chances of blue coming back from that are 0, really. You can get to a point, I've lost I've lost squad competitive matches where it's literally been you can't get out of spawn. They've had us absolutely completely hemmed back in, like the python surrounding them. There's just no way, there's no flanks on, you know. You're totally surrounded, and even if you break through, you just hit the next wave. They respawn, they reposition, and they knock you back to the beginning again.
In terms of just not to change the subject, but like to look at it from a different angle, I think, you know, like Narva, for example, is a city urban type playstyle map.
Yeah.
And the front line is very difficult to define. So I played about a week ago, and I overextended massively, and we were pushing them so hard. We were even pushing the last flag, but as we were pushing, the enemy was coming in from behind us, right?
Yeah.
They were obliterating our hubs and our supply routes.
Yeah.
And basically, we were left to a point where we didn't have a hub. We had the points, but we didn't have a hub. So we had to start from scratch. And as a result, they recaptured 2 points.
Exactly.
So, you know,
yeah.
being aggressive is really good, but you need to make sure that your supply route is continuously going, because without the supply route, you are screwed. Particularly on maps like Narva, where you don't have helicopters and stuff.
I would argue, although supply routes is a key component of what I'm saying, the main thing that they had was spawn points. If this is Narva, you know how USA, I think it is, spawn there, and they go across those bridges, and the Russians are a bit higher. If this is Narva, and blue team have eliminated every single Russian spawn and got 2 habs up on the last caps, like, reds aren't going to get anywhere. Do you see what I mean? The blues are there, and they're going to have them just totally pinned back inside their spawn. So if anything, the point is, I'm not going to quite go into like how many fobs should you have on caps and all that kind of stuff. In fact, we've only got one last little thing to do now, questions basically. But if you've taken down the enemy fobs and saved yours, then your flow of waves of infantry are going to just totally dominate the territory of the map. And if you plug, it's almost like plug holes or some, or you know, taps, and you turn off the flow when you take a hab down. If you can take it down, and then through the defending with early spotting of people coming in, jump on it and take it out before they've had a chance to to turn on their new tap, then you're pushing them right back to main eventually.
3 questions for you.
Yeah.
At what point do you think it's worthwhile attacking a hab, and at what point do you think it's better to attack a flag versus a hab?
I think my idea of attacking. So, what I tried to allude to before. Let's go for. Say you're a blue guy here, and you see a red guy run up to a tree there and shoot him. Yeah. My immediate thought, as soon as I shoot someone, the very first thing, even before I shoot them, is where did they just come from? Straight away, I'm heading that way, looking for more players. And say I get up there and I find another player let me think how this is a bit more confusing. Say I find another player who's here, but he's not on this line. He was coming this way. Even if he shoots me, even if I'm here and I die from him, when I respawn on my hab, you better believe that I ain't going over there. I'm going over here. Where did he just come from? I'm tracking them all the time, because when you find their habs, you know where they all come from, and then you can start cleaning them up and like a python, getting around them, getting a net like around them and clearing them out and just coming in and in and in and in. And the more you do that and you pen them back in their spawn point, the more...
So in all cases, if you're attacking a flag, you would prioritize the hab versus the flag?
It's so rare that I wouldn't. It's like if you already had if you already had a fob on the next flag, say it's a double neutral and you knew they had a fob or something, if you could ignore their hab if that was going to be a dead cap really soon, because you already had the next one full and a spawn point there. That's about the only time that I wouldn't be trying to take down fobs. And even then, if you had an organised team, I would say ignore that fob for the minute, catch the next point, wait for the opposition to go, oh shit, we've been wrong-footed. They all start spawning ready for the flag that you actually do hold. Then you get a 3-man team to go down there and take their fob out so that they can't start reappearing later on when the enemy have left it unmanned.
Okay, cool.
Right. This is like a question time. This is the last thing, in case anyone's getting bored. I don't want it to be blue, to be red. So this is the enemy team. And we've been dropped off here. We've been dropped by a helicopter. Very high-tech helicopter, as you can see. And let's assume that red didn't pick up on the helicopter. If you're the blue team there, what's your next move from that point? What are some things you can do?
Well, you can put down a radio. Are we putting down the radio?
You could put a fob down. Let's assume that you do. You put down a fob.
So I would probably allocate 1 or 2 men to get the hab up, and I'll push the rest guys to flank from the side, because no doubt the helicopter makes a lot of noise. So the likelihood, if they are smart, as I would do, I would push infantry out, all of them. I'd push all of them out. So you need to make sure you counterbalance that, because your hab, you don't need everyone building the hab.
Yeah.
Because everyone building the hab is just a death trap. So I'd push more than half of my squad out to counteract the enemy force pushing in, allocate 2 to build, and then depending on the situation, we might just advance as a team, or the men might already be inside.
So
it really depends on, it fluctuates on the situation and
you've
what
got
you're facing,
4.
really.
You've got 4 here. We've got 1 allocated to the hab, and these 3 are going to the flag, are they?
So I would always allocate at least 2, minimum of 2 building
Because
the hab. Because if someone dies on the hab and they're on their own.
Okay, let's go for 2 and 2 flags. So I'm only drawing 4 dots.
Oh, I see. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, and then when they've built, they're reinforcing them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that you built that, you chose that based on no information. You didn't have any. You knew that they held the flag, and that's all you knew. Now, let's assume that the actual situation with perfect eyes is that the enemy have got 3 habs around it. What do you do then? How would that change what you did at the beginning?
I wouldn't change anything, because there's no way I'm gonna be able to. I'm not gonna be able to compete with 3 habs. There's no way. So
Yeah.
I might as well. So basically, my thoughts here are, if I push the guys in, then we're distracting and taking forces from somewhere else. So their front line, they're now having to withdraw because we're now putting pressure on their defense flag.
Yeah.
So those are my ideas. And
That's-
that way, we're relieving our our defense line.
Yeah. That's valid. Anyone else?
We can keep them busy while we're getting more waves at the flag. Got more bodies, so
Yeah.
we can cap it faster.
Yeah. So if you've got like 3 blues on here, it's like you say, as you alluded to, you don't really stand much of a chance because you're surrounded. So if we assumed that chopper got in and that radio went down unnoticed, if these guys, before they went, rather than thinking, I'm going for the flag, they thought, let's have a look around here, because let's assume they've got a spawn point. And this dude, like, kind of milled about over here a bit and over here, and they got a little bit closer, but they didn't push the cap straight away. You know, we got scopes and binoculars. Say you see Mr. Red Guy here running in, and you're like, oh, someone just running from the east, sorry. I always get them mixed up. So he starts going over here to have a look. And maybe you spot, even if you only spot this one hab, and then either a smaller version of your team, a 2-man team, say like the squad lead and the medic went off, or radio to another squad and got another hab put down behind this one. Now remember, we've seen these red guys moving this way. They're in here. And maybe they've seen you here. So maybe fighting has broken out here. And there's the front line. The front line is like you desperately trying to hold that fob. But because your friends have come in from behind, they could mass spawn one squad on there and have a reasonable chance of deleting one fob. And if that fob goes down, then that front line has just massively changed. It's even more, it's even better looking than that, isn't it? It's here. So now you're 2v2 habs while having and the distance between them is kind of splitting between the flag. All because this is assuming you can get in quietly with a helicopter, which you can't. But yeah, let me see now. Yeah, any questions about that? Questions or comments?
For me, it's all good.
Cool.
Same.
Yeah, that's about it. So yeah, from the knowing how that works, like if you're thinking, well, that's great, but you know, I'm not SLing, or how am I going to get the rest of my team to SL or whatever. Even like if you're one person, just one person in a squad, and you're not squad lead, you can use that by thinking, where are these guys coming from? Even before you shoot, if it's quiet, thinking, where are their fobs likely to be? So actually, let's do that. If you know there's a flag, even if it's in the middle and it's not even capped yet, and you know that their main is over here, or their last flag is over here, you know there's a good chance they're going to be running in like that. So rather than going for the flag, which is exactly what they would think you would do, you come over here and have an old snoop. Where are they coming from? Find their fob. Then you can tell your squad lead that, even as one person, and you get the fun of getting a few kills because they're all looking the wrong way, remember? They're all running in and they've only got eyes for the flag. And you come in and shoot them in the back or the side. Even if you die there, you've got the information. You've only cost 1 ticket. And next time, more guys come round for a smaller number of people can come here just for the defence to hold the Reds back. And you can come in like that. So even as one person, you can be making those decisions. And obviously, getting accurate information and the idea of coming, if this is your fob as well, if you take your guys, if that's and you've got the flag there, if you take the guys up first and then in, if they're smart enough to know this stuff as well, and they're like, oh, I just seen him run in from the west, and they all go shooting off to the west, and they didn't see you come round the bottom because they've caught you running the wrong way. So yeah, it's applicable at all levels. And there ends my spiel. Hopefully, if you guys haven't seen that or haven't thought about it that way before, hopefully when you play now, over a few days or whatever, you'll start seeing these patterns and be like, oh, right, okay, we know we've just killed them, I'm going. Because sometimes people, they shoot everyone and then they're like, all right, should we med each other or whatever? Let the medics do the medding. That's the time for the infantry to get forward and claim the territory that you've just won from that fight, you know.